most of us are terrified and hate ourselves. So
it's a freeing endeavor, right? In that case. Yeah.
Oh, big time. Yeah. Because you're like, well, hopefully the jokes it's like you hear the jokes, people laugh at your jokes, you're like, oh, you accept me, and then the voice in your head is like, they don't accept you. They don't like it.
They're lying.
They're still laughing at me. They're not laughing with me.
It's that thing. Oh, no, totally. It's that thing where like you could be crushing in a room and then there's one person that isn't laughing, and the whole time you're like, oh, see, I suck. I suck because that one person isn't laughing. You look for weird. It's a very like negative feedback bias.
Well, Chris, you did some stand-up in your time, but you bombed like the whole time, all the time.
You never went to any of my shows
because I read the reviews.
First of all, no,
it's like impossible not to. But wait, how long did you do stand-up for?
Well, I just so I was in LA and doing the whole acting thing, and so the acting school I was going to, I had some friends that were heavily in like the stand-up scene, and so. Yeah. It was kind of like one of those things where like, oh, you say some funny stuff in class and stuff like that. You should do stand-up. And I was terrified. And that was like one thing I didn't want to do. And then I was always kind of had this thought that if I'm terrified, then I should do it and kind of like push myself. So they took me kind of around, and I mean, I'm an old guy. So yeah, at the time, I did some performance at Miyagi's or M-Bar or, went to the Valley and like did these, pick out of the hat coffee shop stuff. And so that was as far as it went, but I'll tell you what, like I definitely earned a lot of respect for I always had respect for my fellow comedians, but like even much more so. And, but there was one funny thing is that when I came on the scene, there was already, so my name's Chris Rubio, and there was already this Filipino guy named Chris Rubio. And then, so I already started the scene with beef, because then they would pull my names and they would always be like, oh, it's Chris, not the Filipino one, like, the half Mexican coconut like. Over here. Yeah, like,
yeah.
And then he would like mean mug me. And then I just like felt like I don't want this, man. Like I'm just here, watch me, dude. I'm gonna bomb. It's gonna be great for you.
See, there's the self-hatred I told you.
Yeah,
it's there from the start. It's there from the start.
And you're looking around, and like no one's laughing, but there's that one person that is. That was like, I love you, man. You keep me going.
Yeah, you
bombing
really
makes you feel alive.
Oh my God, makes you feel alive, and then you do want to kill yourself. It is the worst feeling, but very necessary. It's impossible. You have to. It's like it's character building, I think.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I mean, I've never done stand-up comedy, but I've tried to incorporate some comedic elements into like when I have to do a wine dinner, which I still get nervous as hell for, and like, but you gotta sell the stuff, after you make it. And so when you're standing up in front of an audience, and over COVID really helped me out with like getting rid of my filter, because we're a very traditional industry, and just I've always loved stand-up comedy, and there's some great comics out there. I mean, right now I think we're like in the heyday of stand-up, and so really trying to like learn how all of these guys and girls are doing it, and putting it all back together towards the end of whatever little bit of speech you're doing. And it's helped out a lot, but I definitely have offended quite a few people, which I think actually helps. Like that, I think that's a positive when you're looking at people and they're like, "Oh, I didn't think that was funny," and you're like, "Well, I'm not at a fucking political rally. Like, I'll talk shit about like everybody."
It's like you prefer offense over indifference, right? Like if you're saying something that's not resonating with anyone, people are just going to stare at you or just get on their phones or stop paying attention, versus like you like clearly you've said something that struck a nerve with someone where they're like, oh, fuck you. I don't like what you had to say.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, well, I gotcha.
Well, good. Well, it is a pleasure to have you. So I might as well do the intro. Welcome to Go With Your Palate. We got a special guest on today. We've got Alex Kumin. She is a comedian, a writer, a voice actor, and a podcast host. Did I get everything? And a former educator for middle school, high school. What was it?
Elementary school, kind of like K through 12 sex education.
Nice. Oh man, that's got to be
Chicago.
Like. We're gonna get back into that.
I want to like put that point.
We're coming back to that. Yeah, those were my foundations. Yeah.
I feel like that was a miss on my part. That would have been a fun like foundation to have for like speaking to people.
What?
You're like, dude, I've told the 14-year-olds about sex. Like,
I don't.
Talk about bombing. Like, there's no truer bomb than trying to engage middle school students on like sexual harassment and like flirting, and they're giving you nothing and they're making fun of you, and you're just like, I will crawl into a hole.
Well, Alex, thanks for being here. You've got a great list of accomplishments you've done. You've been on the Comedy Cellar, New York Comedy Club. You've got your podcast, Into the Mud, plus, which we'll get into all that stuff. But welcome to Go With Your Palate. You got me, Joe, and this Chris, Fat Mario Rubio, as the co-host. And we are going to talk about wine, entrepreneurship, and whatever the fuck else. So that's how we go.
Let's do it.
Nice.
Let's do it.
So let's hear about you're in New York, but where did it all start?
I'm in New York right now, but it did start in Chicago. So I was living in Chicago for many years, teaching like sex education. It was actually like sexual harassment prevention stuff. It was a rape crisis center, so it was pretty heavy material that we were doing. And at the time, a friend of mine was like, "Oh, you should try Second City. Like they do fun. Like it was meant just for like just balancing my life, just kind of balancing the heaviness of what I was doing during work." And Chicago is, of course, like the home of Second City, improv, all that stuff. So I went through the program, loved it, and then ended up taking a stand-up class a couple of years later and immediately fell in love with, like, I remember the night I did stand-up being like, oh, this is the thing I'm supposed to be doing. It just was like this instant, I don't know if you've ever had a moment like that where you're just like, you're just like, oh, this is it. This is the thing. And so I started going to open mics and then was still working the day job and then sort of slowly transitioned into more and more stand-up. And then about coming up on 5 years ago, moved to New York. And I've been here ever since and just doing lots of stand-up. I do voiceover work. I have a podcast, Into the Mud, like we said, and some acting stuff here and there. But I think the life of an entertainer, you just kind of cobble together whatever you can, and you just get your face out and you get your act out there as much as possible.
Yeah, self-promotion to the max is kind of that's what you got to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Without the narcissistic bent to it. I mean, that's what I'm gathering.
Yeah.
So in New York, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. Was that part of it, or was it just the saturation of a great amount of opportunities ahead? What drove you to New York?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. I think the industry, the way it was, particularly when I started, you have LA and New York as sort of the big epicenters of entertainment. That's not to say that like other cities don't have that. And I think with the advent of social media and the way that things have transitioned, a lot of people are able to make it outside of these major cities. But you do kind of hit a ceiling if you're not in one of those places, and there's just far more opportunities and opportunities to get up on stage and meet people and just do stuff in like on the coast.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure it's similar to like being in wine country. It's like, sure, you could do it in Boise, but like you want to be in California, you know?
Yeah, you want to be thrown into the fire and see how well you manage it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, obviously technology and where we've come with social media and stuff like YouTube channels and stuff like that, there's much more reach now, right? I mean, if you want to get your content out there, and being in New York back in in the day where that wasn't so prevalent as a way to get your content out there, that was how you did it, right? Like, I gotta be seen at these comedy clubs. I need to be have my shows and stuff like that to get it out there.
Totally. And it's been an interesting switch over into social media kind of being the currency now of like followers have become the marker of like, can you go work on the road? Can you get booked at clubs? Whereas before it was like, get good, the clubs will book you, and then that's how you build your audience. Now you kind of have to have your own audience and bring them with you to wherever you're touring or whatever you're doing. I don't know, is that similar in your industry right now?
No,
are you guys seeing?
I was just going to correlate it, and I'm envious of comedy and how it has but maybe it's just my feed, but like I'm envious of comedy and how it is so pointed, and you get these little clips, and it inspires you to watch the whole like to look that comic up and to watch their whole special if they've got one or whatever it might be. But a great way to advertise. And it's the absolute opposite for wine. I mean, it doesn't draw people to you. It might draw you to, or might draw them to your product. But by and large, it's a very traditional industry where it's still food and wine and agriculture, and it's a lot of things that just aren't sexy or provocative. And that is what the consumer mind wants right now, is more provocative nature to what they're hearing, seeing, to draw them to whatever product that is, whether it is a bottle of wine or it is a comic. And so we have a big miss in our industry. I think we do a pretty good job of it, but we're still not we're nowhere near comedy. But I'd love to see more of that in wine, but there is part of me that looks at it like, in comedy, is there, when you're kind of developing your set and what you want to do throughout that set, are you actually kind of baking in pieces that are going to be potentially viral clips for social media?
Yeah, so it's such an interesting thing right now, because that does kind of have to be at the forefront now of I don't think we should be doing that. And I try not to get on stage and be like, okay, tell this joke exactly how you want it to be told, like exactly how you want it to appear online so that it goes viral. Because you don't know. Some stuff goes viral. I have jokes that I've tried a bunch that do fine in the room and then just pop online. And then I have some jokes that destroy every time and like barely move the meter. And so you can't really tell what's going to pop. And so it's hard. And for me, getting into comedy, and the reason I did it was because of the energy in the room, right? Like that's what made me fall in love with it. This idea that there is this group of people in that room, they're never going to be that same group ever again. You're creating this completely unique experience for you in this like one, whatever if it's a 15-minute set, if it's an hour set, you're creating this completely unique idea, and that doesn't really translate to being online. And so I think a lot of people have started to do that, of like setting up cameras at every show. Really what I think a lot of people are doing is setting up cameras at every show so that you can capture it in case you have a kind of magic moment. But playing to or crafting a set around like what you think might go viral, to me, is kind of antithetical to your job as the comedian, which is to make the people in the room laugh and to create the energy there.
I like that. And that sounds much more natural. And I mean, because it does seem like two completely different viewing venues, right? And you may have. It's just funny. Like you gotta almost lead and have those opportunities for your posts and online segments that really draw people in. But that's not at all. That's just, I accidentally got that, but that's at the forefront of my marketing. But people are really coming to see and live in that moment, which is one thing. I think that's what comedy's doing great right now, is like they're bringing people back into like, no, go out and have that experience, see it in real life, maybe, get some trash talked about you by the comic. Like, and that's all part of the joy of it. Like it's very cool to see. I think our society is I think it is turning a little bit towards getting back into those interactions.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I feel the pendulum slowly swinging back towards people really craving this connection and needing to be in community in person.
Yeah.
I think obviously COVID slammed us in a way that none of us had ever experienced before. And then I think after that, we kind of all stayed on our phones, right? I mean, I've had people come up to me at shows being like, I've never been to a comedy show before. I usually watch comedy alone on my couch, which is not how it's supposed to be consumed, right? It's supposed to be, it's a very different experience to watch, even to watch a fully produced stand-up special on Netflix or Hulu, whatever it is. That's a very different experience than being in the room and being next to someone who's laughing and feeling that energy. And so I do think people are starting to miss that togetherness and are starting to come back a little bit more. And performers and comedians are also really pushing for that, right? It's like, go support your local show, support your local club, get out there, go do stuff, because we're seeing, you can see the effects of social media and what it's doing to us and how it's kind of shutting down our relationships. And even just like, do you remember when you used to just have to stand in line for coffee and you just had to either stand there or talk to someone next to you or whatever it was? But we have completely cut out all these like micro interactions with people.
Yeah.
And I think it's really starting to affect the way that we are moving through the world and how we're just treating people in general, right? Like the way that people talk to each other online, it's just can be so toxic because we're starting to lose a little bit of that like just human connection.
Yeah, just straight up, it's black or white. That's it. People, it's like, you don't have my ideology, you're wrong, and fuck you.
Yeah.
And and I do think that comedy was the savior of it through COVID. I'm gonna give credit to comedy because that was one thing where you did feel, even if it was somebody doing a small special, you did feel authenticity and you were watching it during these kind of lockdown times. And comedy was the one thing that prevailed, and the truth in comedy, especially while kind of society was going the opposite direction of like, silencing your own thoughts, even if you don't agree with them. And the comics were able to get away with it all and kind of keep it fresh and lively, unique. And they kind of, I think, just really spearheaded the get people back into the in-person event. And it's not, Shane Gillis selling out a arena. Like, I'm talking like the actual, like the comedy clubs. Those are the best, where you as a comic get to see everybody and everybody feels like they're in this intimate little space and they're truly part of the whole development of every joke, sitting on the edge of their seat. Like, you can't replicate that. It's very, very cool.
No.
I mean, I think that's what's drawing people back in is also the crowd work stuff. And then, and Alex, you do that amazingly, by the way. And
Thank you.
I am now a fan, a true fan. I just want to say that it's been excellent just to watch. But that's the kind of stuff that gets your heart beating. And there is a part of it to see, I think, by utilizing more of that interaction online, I think can also be drawing people to what we're talking about into more of a live scene, because they're like, whoa, like that just looks exciting. That person is just that's happening in real time. That person's not a part of that joke,
Yeah.
and it kind of shows you a whole dynamic of that world about how, as a comedian, you can bring people in. And then also like how you deal with the assholes and the hecklers.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the biggest fear too. And yeah.
There are many. Yeah, it's been interesting too, because crowd work has been, there's to what we were talking about before about why, social media is sort of becoming the necessity at this point. To write a joke that works takes time, it takes practice, and it can take weeks, months, years to get a joke really good, to get it really tight and really perfect. So the pace with which like these online, like these platforms that they demand of you, for me at least, it became really hard to just keep posting new material every time. And so for me, I was like, all right, let me throw some crowd work clips up. I started in hosting. I was a teacher. Like interaction comes kind of naturally. And it's been interesting because there are some comics that are firmly in the like, there should not be a focus on crowd work. And then some people that are like, no, crowd work is my thing. And that's what's bringing people out. And I'm kind of in the middle of, I do think there needs to be a healthy mix, or there needs to be a majority of written jokes, but to be able to address the crowd, talk to someone, have these moments. Like I had this moment with like 4 Norwegian women in the audience a few months ago, and it kind of blew up, and now I'm going to Norway in the fall to do shows, right? So it's like, you have these moments that you're like, oh, I had no idea that wasn't part of the plan. That wasn't on my set list. That was just a road I just walked down during that particular set, and it turned out incredible. It turned out really fun.
Yeah, I guess you never know. That's awesome. So you now have a fan base in Norway.
Yeah, I have this crazy little Norwegian fan base. I'm going out to Oslo and Bergen and setting up some more shows in Europe over there. But it's just like, I think, again, that's what is so beautiful about stand-up, too, is that you just never know what kind of audience you're going to get, who's going to be in the audience, and what kind of experience you're going to get to have with people. And again, what I was saying before about like that being a completely unique experience, that room will never happen again. Those people will remember that moment. Hey, remember that Norway thing that we saw? Like that, I can't replicate that. I can't do that again. I can't like bait someone into giving me these answers. It just has to be this organic thing that happens in the moment. And I think that's the beauty of some of this crowd work stuff is that, and trust me, there's also plenty of shit crowd work. There's a lot of like, what do you do for work? And they say something and the crowd explodes and it's like, well, what? Did we do anything here? What did we accomplish here? Very good.
I've seen plenty of that, but you're fishing, right? You gotta be like casting a line a couple times, see if there might be some content there. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Oh God. So, are you heading out to the West Coast at all? Do you ever enjoy California?
Yeah. I mean, I love California. I was just in Portland and plan to do some more stuff out west. Obviously, LA has a great scene, but San Francisco is amazing. Seattle, any sort of like West Coast it's great. There's just such a vibrant comedy scene in a lot of these coastal cities.
Yeah, it's odd how that works out, but we'd love to come and see you.
For sure.
San Diego's got some great clubs. That's also another one. Yeah.
San Diego's awesome. Yeah.
We've actually been so in the Napa Valley we have this old time theater called the Uptown, and it used to just be a place to just do dates back in the day when we were young, just watching movies and stuff. And now it's really turned into quite the scene. And they've been bringing in like more and more comedy, which we've loved to see. We saw Mark Norman there.
Yeah, Mark Norman hit there.
Oh, so funny.
Yeah, they had Adam Carolla there too, like just recently.
Adam Carolla and Adam Ray.
Yeah, and Adam Ray, we saw Adam Ray there. So anyways, I think it's, and that just kind of shows like we get excited about that. I think it shows that it's like even spreading to more of the small town kind of thing, but it's really keeping things alive. But there was one thing I did want to touch on a little bit because I'm not going to pretend like I know anything, but I would love to get some insight on just being a woman in comedy, and just kind of get like how maybe you've seen like the landscape change, if it has, or evolve, and just get a little insight on that if you were willing to share.
I always think of comedy as a microcosm of the world at large. And so I think in the time that I've been doing it has changed in some ways. And then there are some things that have not changed. I think this is generally a very male-dominated field. So I'm still doing a lot of shows where I might be the only woman on the lineup. There are certainly more women. And I think that, again, I think the popularity of stand-up right now and the ubiquitousness of it on everyone's social platforms is kind of showing people like, oh, there's more than just one type of comedian. And I think that's the cool thing about these platforms is that you can get exposed to someone who might be a little bit more your style. It definitely is still difficult. I think as a woman, I still encounter this, walking on the stage and there's an assumption that I'm not funny or that I won't be as good as some of the men on stage. And so I find that sometimes I might have to spend a couple minutes at the top of my set just gaining the trust of the audience, where some of my male colleagues might just have that built in. And then in terms of like content, I think I tend to go, like I said, I have this background in sex education, so there's not a whole lot I don't talk about in my stand-up. Yeah. And I think that there is still a little bit of like pearl clutching when we hear women talk about certain topics versus men, right? Mm-hmm. Like when it comes to like sex or masturbation or just like body, anything. And so it's interesting sort of seeing that. And again, it is changing for the better, but there's still a ways to go in terms of like women can be funny. Women can talk about the same things that men can talk about, and you can still laugh. I think a lot of times as well, in terms of like audience reception, women in the audience have been sort of taught like, all right, you have to, if there's a man on stage, you're going to laugh at anything he says. And then if there's a woman on stage, the men in the audience might not feel like they even are able to relate or are allowed to relate. And so there's still kind of that divide of like what people think they're allowed to laugh at. I mean, I had a show 2 weeks ago where these guys came up to me after and they were like, oh my God, you were amazing we didn't think you'd be funny.
Oh,
And I was
gosh.
like, why? I go, why? Because I'm a woman. And one of them was like, yeah. I was like, that's the quiet part. You don't say that one out loud. So it's like, that's still a thing that happens. That's still like a super common thing. And it's a thing, again, like talk about comedians know how to like read energy in a room. I can tell when I walk on stage, when an audience just kind of like, when I get like that sort of arm crossed, like, prove it kind of attitude. So
Yeah.
I think that there's a change, but it's cool, being at the Cellar, and I get to see some of the best comics in the country, in the world, going up every night, and there are just so many powerhouse comedians there that are just like blowing the roof off the place every night.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen. I think maybe to your point, the acceptance of the kind of like more female driven comedy has gotten better. I agree. It still has a long way to go. I think it's the acceptance
Totally.
part that, more than anything. And
Yeah.
and when you say pearl clutching, I mean, I get your point about like men not being able to, kind of connect so much with the psyche of a female. But I also think that women have more of like a hold, especially traditionally, they have like more of a hold back from like, I really shouldn't laugh at that. But then I've also seen like older women, like my, aunts, and like, I mean, I'm talking like 70s to 90s. My wife's grandmother is absolutely hilarious. You can talk with her about anything, and she knows way
Yeah.
more than she lets on. Like, I mean, from sexual stuff to whatever, and she's absolutely hilarious when you like, break her out of her shell. And but otherwise she kind of sits there in, an old woman's gown and just sits there like the most kind of traditional person in the room, and it's hilarious. So I think I think that by constantly hitting on it, yeah, you break those walls down. That's awesome.
Totally. And those are some of the most fun shows too. Like, particularly if I'm in like a more conservative area, or, a place that's outside of a major city, I still come to this stage with like, okay, fingers crossed they like me, but also my job as the comedian is to do my set and be myself. And whether or not you like me that's your decision. But I think some of the more fun shows I've had is, even if I go in with preconceived notions about like what this crowd might like or dislike, just being pleasantly surprised at what people laugh at, or who's the one laughing the loudest at that joke, or, it's so, you just never know what's going to connect with people.
What I've been curious about, wanting to talk about too, is that, so if we're talking about men and women and just being more open, now we can just like, hey, we can joke about anything, like learn. It's going to help us learn more about each other and what we're going through, and a more of an understanding. So then it kind of comes into this controversy, I think, that comes up with comedy about, can we joke about everything? Can
Yeah.
like, and for one instance, what comes up is like more recently, maybe there was a lot of heat about the roast, Kevin Hart roast, and you're talking about Shane Gillis, or Tony Hinchcliffe, and some of the jokes they made. And now these are not even just touching on gender, or it's race, it's all these kind of things. And so, where are these lines? Are there lines, or is this a way to bring us all together? So I thought it'd be cool, kind of like,
Yeah, I'd love to hear your perspective
Yeah.
on
hear
that.
your perspective.
Yeah, totally. I think I'll start broadly. I think you can joke about anything. I think you can talk about whatever you want. One of the cool things about this country is that we have freedom of speech. That's not a privilege that everyone in the world gets. You can say anything. What you can't do is control how people react to that. And so when I first started comedy, one of the like sort of main principles that I learned pretty early on is just this concept of punching up versus punching down, right? So like punching up, essentially what it means is there are power dynamics at play in this world, right? There are power dynamics in race, gender, sexual orientation. There are people who have it, there are people who don't. And if you are in one of the groups that has all the power, it's, to me, not as funny to punch down at the other groups that don't, right? That's why, like, if like a black comedian joking about white people is usually funnier than a white comedian joking about black people, or whatever, like pick whatever plugins you want there. So I think, again, because you can talk about anything, you can, but I think there's also, for me personally, I don't I'm not going to get on stage and rag on people who don't have the same rights as I do, or say stuff that's going to further alienate people who are already struggling, right? Like, I'm not going to make jokes at the expense of a trans person, because I know that trans people are already dealing with a host of issues about their physical safety and mental and emotional safety, right? So like, that's just not the road I'm going to go down. And so I think what we're seeing right now, particularly like with that roast, right? Like we're seeing these major networks or major streaming services platform people who are saying stuff that, in my opinion, is like, there can be funnier jokes made, right? We saw like that roast, like there were plenty of jokes made that weren't at the expense of like race, right? And so I think at the end of the day, it's like, where are consumers and where are audience members directing their attention, right? Like we don't have to go to the shows of the people that are making jokes that aren't funny, right? But I think, again, some of what people are struggling with is like, I mean, like Tony Hinchcliffe just had like this Netflix special where he's just like, and he's known for like making jokes that I don't personally find that funny, and can be definitely seen as harmful to certain groups of people. And so it's like, okay, let's not watch that. Let's not watch that. Let's not go to those shows. And I think what we also do is we focus a lot on what are the controversies at hand versus like, okay, well, who are the comedians that are worth investing time and money into? You know, like when I was talking before about being at the Cellar, I'm constantly amazed at how many amazing comedians there are that people just don't know about because they haven't been exposed to them, because they haven't been platformed that large yet, you know. And it was cool. Several friends of mine were on the Kevin Hart Netflix comedy competition recently, and like Caitlin Peluffo is a good friend of mine who is having like a phenomenal blow up right now, and people are just starting to, not just starting to, she's got a decent fan base, but she's kind of raising in popularity right now in a way that's really cool to see. And so my response to all this is usually like, okay, we can talk about this, but let's also talk about who are the newer people that have opinions that we do want to hear more of, and careers that we want to support.
Yeah, and we all vote with our pocketbook, right? I mean, that's the old adage. And I will say, like, I've enjoyed a lot of, going back to your point, Tony Hinchcliffe's stuff, his last special. None of it resonated with me. And so, I don't know if he tried to go too deep or something, but into his own kind of mentality on things. But it was like, it lost you. And that was unfortunate. But, so that's kind of like a ding, right? But yeah, there's tons of people coming up. And I do think that a lot of what is out there, kind of to a point Chris was going towards, was, does it kind of separate people or does it bring people together? And
yeah,
I mean, I would just go back to the amount of screen or airtime like every clip from that roast had. It's like, I think that it was so provocative in many ways. Some of it very simple and kind of cheap jokes, but still very kind of like, I can't believe you said that. But I think it kind of desensitizes people to, yeah, we should all, like, this stuff doesn't matter. They are jokes, and we can all appreciate who you are, and laugh at myself as much as you want to laugh at me, and vice versa. And I think that's part of like friendship at the same time. Like this guy over here, I give him shit all the time for, everything from curly hair to being half Mexican, half Italian. He doesn't know if he wants marinara or salsa.
It doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt.
It's just
but our love language is the same. Like he'll come and talk about how I'm like hairy as Chewbacca. Like
yeah,
I might have some self-esteem issues because of it, but
he does.
He's crying.
Yes. On the inside, you might see a smile out here, man. My tears.
Yeah.
Hey, the mosquitoes might not get to him, but I do. You know what I mean? Like,
they can't get through the hair. We all have our thing. Hey, Arab Jew right here. I get the hair.
Oh my God.
I get the hair struggle. Yeah.
It looks great.
It does look great.
Thank you. Oh, I mean, my hair looks amazing. But I did have a mustache till I was 12. So we all have our origin story.
My wife's an Arab Jew.
No way.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that. What's her what's her back?
So her grandfather immigrated from Morocco, but had, I think, lived over more in the Middle East as well. Yeah, so her and her sister, they're half Irish, half Arab Jew or Moroccan Jew, and her sister got the dark skin, the dark like hair like yours, complexion, all that stuff, and my wife got the architecture of an Arab Jew, but the white skin and the red hair.
That's a rough day at the beach.
Yeah, it is a rough day
at the beach.
It's a rough day about 5 minutes into the sun. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's gonna love me for talking about this.
Oh, yeah. She is. Don't mention any. Yeah, did she have the hair thing?
The curly hair thing, or when she was younger?
Yeah,
she had curly, red hair. She was kind of the ugly duckling,
Okay, yeah, we can move on. I think
We're gonna edit that one out.
Yeah, we're gonna edit that one out.
But I do think that having that like hard upbringing of not being like, whatever, popular or sexy or whatever in your formative years creates a great personality. And it has you like always striving to do better with what you've got.
Yeah.
And then when you become,
For sure.
an adult and it doesn't really matter anymore, you're like, okay, now I've got all of this great stuff inside of me, and now I, look normal or good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking
Totally.
about like overcoming stuff in those formative years too, like, because Alex mentioned like the mustache until she was 12. I was small, skinny kid, and I was just relying on humor just to kind of like, get me through.
You did.
Not getting beat up.
Totally. Well,
and,
it's like it's the thing with most comics. So most comics have it's one of my favorite things is like when I meet someone new in comedy is like finding out like, oh, what was your like origin story? What was your like little thing? What happened to you?
Yeah.
And I think like most comics have that because you develop this sense of humor as a shield, right? You develop it as like I feel either inadequate or insecure or something's going on at home or something's going on with me and I don't want you to look at it. So I'm going to do smoke and mirrors out here with my humor. And that's how I think a lot of people develop that humor is through shitty things that happened when you're younger and just learning how to navigate the world in a way that protects you. And I think that's just how it goes.
See, it worked out for you.
Yeah.
You were the one making fun of me at school all the time. You were the bully.
It was you. Wait, were you guys? Did you guys know each other growing up?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
If you haven't found out, yeah.
Our parents were friends. Our grandparents were friends, like childhood, and then we grew up. We're like one month apart. Lived right down the street from each other. So yeah, we've known each other forever.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah,
I love that.
Given like the town we grew up in had like 250 people, so he was like,
but that you like, that you're just still doing this. Like that's not a lot of people don't have those friendships, or don't have the friendships that are good to the point where you can also work with them.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, we've always gotten along. It's good.
Yeah, he called it an arranged friendship, but it blossomed. It worked out.
It's very typical in this country. Yeah.
Arranged friendship. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, I mean, with what you were mentioning, I love what you said about humor. It's like it was like this defense, not only defense mechanism, but I also feel like it has healing factors to it. And I was going to get your insight on that because you have the podcast Into the Mud. I think you if you don't mind me saying,
I do want to get into that. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's you deal with like a lot. I mean, they're deep topics: addiction, death, but then also like maybe uncomfortable things like gooning, like you said, and stuff like that. So
yeah.
You're like, we can talk about that.
I've heard of it. Let's go. No, I love this. Is like my favorite thing to talk about.
Is this really the end? Unbelievable. Find out next week